Welcome back to the Nerdcore Podcast number 355. And we are here for the Saturday morning review, Thursday night review for patrons, but Saturday morning review for everybody else. And as always, it is the Nerd Chicano here to host the show, along with my wonderful co host, Young Yoda.
What's up, everybody? I'm tasting the rainbow.
You eating some Skittles?
Sponsor us, bitches.
We'll take anybody at this point. Oh, that's great. Good old Skittles and Wendy's. But how are you doing today, man?
I just want a free hoodie, bro.
You want a free hoodie?
I just want a free hoodie.
No, man. Nothing in life is ever free, right?
Free hoodie laugh.
You just want somebody to hit you up with like, hey, man, you want a free hoodie?
Yeah, I do. Then I'll finally feel like the woman in the relationship.
Yep. Sorry, man. Nothing comes free in life. Yeah, we're here to do another Saturday morning review. As always, you guys know that Brad won the coin toss, and we had to watch Pagemaster today. And we got and it's going to be a hard episode to get to the 25 minutes, but I think I'm going to be real honest here. If we get to 20, I'm good. Brad and I have been recording all day today, mostly all day. I wrote reviews today, and then Brad and I.
How many reviews did you write today?
Two. Yesterday I did 3, I think, but I did 2. I had to make a thumbnail for one of them and all that wonderful stuff.
Then you had to watch this
movie.
This.
Yes. Thank God it was only an hour and 15.
I mean, that's the one thing it had going for it.
Yeah.
I will say back in 1994 as an 8-year-old, this movie was far more epic. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have your information pulled up because we're going to go ahead and get into it. But yeah, so we're doing Pagemaster today, and then next week we are doing The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. And we're also going to continue on with Christopher Nolan month next week with Batman Begins. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this, Brad. If you guys have never seen Pagemaster, then you might want to click off if you care about spoilers. If you don't care about spoilers, honestly, with this movie, I don't think you should give a shit about spoilers. This is something that comes up on like Hallmark Network at like 6. Is
this actually shown on television?
I feel like I saw it on television at one point.
Maybe. It does have young Macaulay Culkin, so yeah, that's for the families.
Yeah. So without further ado, your spoiler warning is in effect in a 5, 4, 3, 2, what? Bradley, introduce us to Macaulay Culkin in Pagemaster.
The Pagemaster. From our number one and only source, Wikipedia. Send me a hoodie. Anyways.
I don't think they make hoodies, dude.
Yeah, they're always asking me for money during like halfway through the year too. So, anyways.
Send me a hoodie, I'll send you money.
Anyways, The Pagemaster is a 1994 American live-action animated film starring Macaulay Culkin, Christopher Lloyd, Whoopi Goldberg, Patrick Stewart, Leonard Nimoy, Frank Weller, Ed Begley Jr., and Mel Harris. The film was produced by Turner Pictures and Hanna-Barbera and released by 20th Century Fox on November 23rd, 1994. The film was written for screen by David Cassie, based on a 6-page pitch by writer Charles Pogue entitled Library Days. Presented to Cassie by producer David Kirshner, the film was directed by Jodes Johnston, live action, and Pixote Hunt and Glenn Chika, animation, and produced by David Kirshner and Paul Gertz. The film received negative reviews and grossed $13.7 million from a budget of $34 million. The film's poor box office performance, along with Cats Don't Dance, set back other animated films for the animation studio Turner Feature Animation. Ooh, Ted Turner was not happy.
No, he wasn't. This is 94. Starting to get into the Monday Night Wars with Vince McMahon too.
I mean, you would think with such a big name as Macaulay Culkin, who was probably the biggest child star during this time, that they could have done better than $13.7 million.
Yep. So I guess we go with you first, Brad. What are your thoughts on the Pagemaster?
Again, so I'll bring this up. Take you back to young Brad.
1994.
Young Brad, no beard. Much shorter. Probably didn't speak that much. Anyways, age 8. This movie was epic back then. Had fucking Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. Had talking books. Remember, guys, the internet wasn't invented back then, so this was like purity. Just this was like revolutionary, if you could think about it. Like people being put into cartoons and so forth and so back and forth like that. So they didn't really have CGI back in then. If they did, it was pretty lousy. Mm-hmm. But this at the time was one of those movies as a kid you would watch and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch. And, you know, I'm pretty sure I did that. But this is one of those movies that don't age well. It does not age well. It does not keep up with today's times and standards. Yep. I mean, even when it first started, so Brenda watched this with me and she's like, you know, as a kid, all those scenes, all those adventures they went on through the horror and all that, they seemed a lot longer and they seemed a lot more epic than they actually were. And I gotta say that's true. The everything just falls flat in this movie. The animation is not very good.
Yep.
It's weird when his pants that are animated matches the floor that's animated. It's the same colorway, so it doesn't vibe well. And you just have that throughout the movie. It's like the colors are just kind of faded, and which is I guess a good definition of this film is it's faded.
Yeah, I guess this is what I get for making you depressed with Saw. But
now you get depressed from a bad movie.
Not really. This is just,
I mean, it wasn't depressing.
I just it was
this
not.
Wasn't very good. It just wasn't good.
It's not worth my time. The movie's rushed as hell. The movie just doesn't absolutely make sense at all with any of its characters. The only one we have any sort of development is with Macaulay Culkin's character. That's once again the development is rushed as fuck. And yeah, I mean, this is just a very outdated movie.
I mean, very outdated. The one thing I gotta say, it was really cool seeing Christopher Lloyd like young.
Yeah,
youngish. That was kind of cool.
I'm also very much tired of that trope of and I'm glad that it kind of ended with the 90s and early 2000s of the very clearly mentally disabled characters.
Oh, you mean horror? Yeah.
I
didn't remember that part, but I was watching that. I'm like, they made a special version of this book, and it's just not. Like I said, this movie doesn't age well.
It doesn't age well. And I'm glad that's a trope that kind of died off.
Things back in the 90s, they don't necessarily. No, I mean, even The Hangover, which was early 2000s, has parts they just don't mix well in today's society. They change.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, like what you could easily replace that character with like an eager kid who wants to be more adventurous type of character, and it would have the same effect that you're kind of looking for. Why you got to do it like that? Like, that's just I'm glad that's a trope that died with the 90s and the early 2000s, because like I was like, oh, God, here we go again.
I think back then, I mean, the adults got it. I'm sure, like, we get it now. Like, we understand that is somebody with a mental disability. Like, we understand that horror is someone with a mental disability. Back then, when you were a kid, you didn't understand that. You just thought you just thought that was a lovable character.
And I guess that's the way that I can explain this movie. Like, there's just movies that are made for a specific demographic, and this is a movie for kids. This is a movie for kids. This is a movie that. This is the example of a movie that you love when you're a child, and when you watch it years later as an adult, you remember this isn't good.
It's not great. I mean, it's not as great as you remember, and that's most things from childhood. I gotta say though, that soundtrack had some fucking Whitney Houston going on there. Like there was some like Carey vocals in that shit.
I don't know who the hell was singing, but it sounded like it was Whitney, bro. Also, the score. I'll give hands to the what they call hands down to the score,
I
man.
mean, the score, like the music through this is really good.
Yeah, but yo, I didn't know that Whitney was in this, man.
I don't know if Whitney or not. Someone sounds like Whitney. Like during the middle of the film, and then for the end credits, I literally made Brenda listen to the end credits just because of those vocals.
Yup. That was funny as hell, man. I was like,
I mean,
yo,
that's pure '90s. That is pure '90s. Just what's one of those love ballads with Whitney hitting all the high notes.
By the way, there's an extended version of this movie.
Yeah, I think good.
Oh my god, man. Yeah. So, I mean, what else can I say, man? I mean, this is just. I can't believe Griffin was like, "Oh, I like that movie."
Well, maybe if she hadn't watched it in a while, there are parts of this movie. I think if you were to remake it today with the better animation and, like you said, get rid of the horror character and bring in someone more up to date, I think this would be an okay remake. Except nobody knows what a fucking book is anymore. So everybody he'd have to find like all the iPads and shit and walk around with them, like a Motorola phone or something. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, no, what's it called? It's just what's it called? Oh, Jim Cummings in this movie?
I mean, but like this, the mother in this movie was totally just allowing your son to be a total coward, like everything.
So, like I was funny. I was watching like the beginning, right, where he's like, just come up here to the treehouse and bring me the thing, right? I was like, yo, in a Latin household.
Get your fucking ass up here and bring me that.
Okay. Up here. I'll be like, yes, sir. Or just even hitting my the bucket and making them fall down, like I'd be dead. But yeah, no, I find that hilarious. But also, I wouldn't be sent away to go to a hardware store to buy what's it called?
No, like parents nowadays afraid their kid get kidnapped. Like,
yeah, what the hell, man?
We want you to go across town. And when they left him up in the fucking treehouse. Like with the open, like I'm like y'all are horrible parents.
I just rewatched Hereditary, a movie where the mom got mad that a daughter was sleeping in the treehouse, and then I watched this where they just let the kids sleep in the treehouse.
Oh, you knew that dad and mom were going about to like, yep, we got time to ourselves in here. Pound Town.
Pound Town, baby. Yeah, I mean, this movie is as forgettable as it gets, and I don't think that it's any good. And yeah, I guess if I would have seen this when I was a kid, I probably would have liked it. But God bless it being an hour and 15 minutes long. That's
I mean that's one of the positives on it. Like if it's going to be bad or not very good, huh?
A reason that it's probably an hour and 15 was so they could put it on TV. That was more than likely why.
Makes sense. So this movie maybe hit theaters, but it was generally meant to be put on TV, which it was back in the 90s, because I'm pretty sure that's how I saw it. I didn't go see this in a theater.
Yes. So this is just another one of the examples of a TV movie that should have been a TV movie.
And you can tell this is definitely from a studio who didn't have a very good footing or grounding on what they wanted to do. They basically just hired a bunch of big name stars with you saw that was a 6-page freaking synopsis of the story that they were going off of. That's not a script. That's an idea.
Nope.
but it's definitely not to Walt Disney standards or Don Bluth standards. Yeah. Like this movie just I mean your book characters, I think you didn't get enough of them fleshed out. Like you said, the horror character just doesn't stand. Most of the story doesn't stand the test of time.
Oh man, just read this part right here, man. According to the film's animation crew, the film went over budget during animation production due to mismanagement and changes to the narrative. The 2001 book, producing animation by Catherine Winder and Zara Dolatabi, Johnson's assistant on the Pagemaster, recommends against making story changes during the animation process. Joe Johnston would later go on to express his dissatisfaction over the production, claiming the film was re-edited without his consent. He has since crossed the Pagemaster off his resume.
I mean that's understandable. If this is another narrative of when the studio gets in there and just fucks it all up.
Yep. Yep. But I can't find it there. Like there was only a 6-page synopsis. That's nuts, dude.
Yeah,
It's
the
a freaking
it's up
script.
there at the beginning.
You
6-page
know,
pitch.
it works. Some movies work. So look, I don't want to be here and be a hypocrite because Climax is is a movie that I adore, and it was literally a page and a half outline of what was going to happen. But at least you have a competent director who knows.
But like
But
this story is set up basically in 4 sections, 3 maybe. Like you have the beginning, and then you have each of the book characters. So you're going to Horrorland, Fantasyland, Adventureland, and then you got the ending. So it's set up like in 5 times. So a 6-page synopsis ain't enough to flesh out all those characters. I mean, like you barely even get to meet the Pagemaster. You see him in the beginning where he basically throws the kid into, hey, fuck off.
I feel like this is trying to be like Princess Bride or something. Like it was really trying heavily to be a Disney product that obviously didn't know.
Well, I mean, definitely they were definitely aiming for the Disney product, but the animation was just not there. It just I love the concept of them trying to fit in like a real character into a cartoon world. I mean, you got that with Roger Rabbit, and that went very well.
Mm-hmm.
This though, just the animation style just doesn't work.
So was it what's it called? Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera.
So what's it called? Did they end up making anything after this?
I mean, Hanna-Barbera, they made Hanna-Barbera was huge in the.
Oh yeah, I mean, what's Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Yeah.
The Smurfs. But like after this movie, did they make anything big or anything? Like,
I
would think that this is a hit to their money, bro.
It's Hanna-Barbera though, and Hanna-Barbera was huge back in the day. Like,
yeah,
they were one of the biggest studios, I would say.
Yeah, I think this would be mostly a hit to Turner Pictures, no?
Definitely hurt. I'm sure Ted Turner was pissed.
Bro.
I mean, Ted Turner's probably just glad about the fucking Atlanta Braves. God damn it.
Pretty much.
and land spanning from Mexico to California so he can ride his horse on his own property all the way. That's when you know you have too much money.
Yep. So, God, I'm trying just to milk to the 20-minute mark, please. I guess, but it would have been funny if it was actually Whitney. I would have been like, "Yo, how much did they pay for Whitney to even get?"
I mean, that would explain the budget. But going back, I really think you could remake something like this.
I think that you could, have the director actually oversee the editing and see what he wanted to put in there instead of having somebody do it without.
Well, and the animation, I think what they can do with animation nowadays, I mean, look at video games. You have almost where video games look like actual human beings. And the minute they look like actual human beings, I may have to stop playing that shit.
This 100% had to be hand drawn, and it looks ridiculous.
Well, and I like, and I don't know if it's as much the artistic part of it or the coloring, because the coloring it comes out faded and blurry and just doesn't look good. Because you saw like the background sets and stuff, like the castles and Treasure Island and all that stuff looked cool, but the coloring was just off throughout this whole movie.
It just feels so off. But
the only time the coloring worked was with the dragon. That's really the only part I felt worked with that coloring, because it went to a dark place.
What's up with the book squirting water out of it?
I don't know. What's with the fairy farting fairy dust? I don't fucking know. Yeah. Poor Whoopi put in that situation.
Yeah, poor Whoopi, dude. But I mean, I can't have nothing else to say. What do you want to score, Brad?
Oh, what do you want to score? You go first.
I rated it 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so I want to say about a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I was figuring a 4.
4 out of 10. I don't really care.
I mean, this is like this is a forgettable movie. Yeah. The only reason I even remember is we were talking about it, and it just so came up. I mean, I think for kids would get since kids really don't care, they're just looking at like, oh, the books talk. That's some cool
Yeah.
shit.
You see, like that's what I say. That what's it called? The forgettable movies are the worst than like absolutely terrible movies. Like, yes, The Room sucks. It's a 1 out of 10 for sure. What's it called? Or 0.5 out of 10. It's a terrible movie, but like we still bring it up a lot, and we always quote it, and we're always
Hi,
talking about
Mark.
it.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah. Now movies like this, like
I
I,
mean, there
I'm
really is nothing. There's nothing really quotable, or
I'm
I
just
mean,
gonna
I
forget it.
mean, you're not wrong. This is one of those movies. It's just, I mean, it exists, but it just
Yep.
exists.
It's forgettable as hell. So yeah, you're gonna go with the four.
I'm going with the four.
All right, you don't want to be evil like me, but
No, you're not being evil. Like, I mean, I just got to figure out what the hell I've rated everything else and put it in. I mean, anything lower than a 5 probably means I'm not going to watch the fucking thing again.
yeah. I want an explanation tomorrow from Griffin.
What? Like I said, and you got to be remembering people have, different taste, different style. Let's face it, you don't have many books or many movies that are set in a library.
Yeah, but then again, I remind everybody. Uh, Sometimes we're clouded with nostalgia, and sometimes we think that some things are better than they are because we're looking at it through the lens of our childhood.
You know how we say we look at a movie and we're like, everything on paper says this movie shouldn't work, and
Yeah.
it still works somehow. We've said that for quite a few movies. This
Yeah.
is one of those movies. Everything on the paper says it should work, and it just doesn't.
Yep. Exactly. So I guess before we leave, I get to tell. I guess I'll tell you all that. I mean, honestly, go watch movies from your childhood like this, and don't view them from the lens of a child watching it. As you remember, don't let that cloud your judgment of being like, oh, I'm like, hey, if you still like it and you still enjoy it, more power to you. But like, don't be like, well, I like this movie because I really loved it as a child. Like, well, you're not a child anymore. Try to view it differently now, and try to watch
I
more.
mean, I went back and I watched. You realize why Disney is one of the biggest studios?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because they hired the best people and they made great movies. I went back and I watched Robin Hood, like the animated one from
Oh, I thought you meant Robin Hood.
1974. No, I mean Mel Brooks for sure, but no, I went back watched Robin Hood from the 1974.
Yep.
That thing still is good. That thing is like still amazing. The music on that, the animation, everything on that is amazing. And that's where I think Disney's magic lies is they went out, they hired the best animators they could, and they kept the best animators, and they made some of the best stories.
Exactly. And I mean that's also like, Disney holds the key to our childhood, and but if you look at it just from the lens of being like this animation's great, the music is great, the voice acting is great, the story is pretty good too. So just watch some of these movies, guys, and just go back and watch them. And you shouldn't feel bad that you don't like them as much as you did when you were a kid. As a kid, you probably liked a lot more things that you don't like now. But I guess it's just a what's it
I
called?
mean,
That, my friend.
I mean, I still like Macaulay Culkin though.
Oh yeah,
I still like Macaulay. I mean, I can't blame Macaulay for this one.
No, this is obviously what's it called? When I read that whole editor thing, like, yep, this is butchered as hell. It's not the movie that probably he wanted to make. No wonder he took it off his resume.
I mean, I can see like why Macaulay Culkin was so sought after as a child star back in the day, because he's really good. He really is. I mean, he's better than most child actors.
I mean, yeah, he has the mannerisms and everything.
Exactly.
But as always, we want to thank you all for listening or watching. As always, if you're on the audio feed, make sure you leave a rating review on the podcast app of choice, Apple Podcast, Stitcher. Or if you're on the video and you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you leave a like and you subscribe to the YouTube channel and you put that notification bell on, please. And if you're on both, make sure you go to nerdcore.com to check us out and check out all the stuff that we post on there. 12 reviews, baby. If you go in there's a category for 75 films from Asia. On there, you're going to be able to catch up with all the reviews I do for all the movies I watch on there. And now my quest is to make 12 video reviews for my personal channel.
Good luck with that one.
Yep, fucking kill me, man. We want to thank We want to thank most of all our Patreon supporters who help us out at patreon.com/nerdcore. You guys are the reason that these shows happen. We want to thank most of all our producers, our writers, our producers and writers of the show. Our associate producer is Sarah. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being an associate producer of the podcast. Our executive producers are Grayson Barker, who you can follow at Grayson Barker 98 on Instagram, Warlord1Bar on Twitter. And Brad, where can you find Shane?
You can follow our friend Shane at twitch.tv/XSRK or on Twitter at XSRK_.
Awesome. So make sure you guys follow them. And of course, we want to thank our writers. Our writers of the show are Tony and Bryce. Bryce, you can find him at BrownRice96 on both Instagram and Twitter and twitch.tv/BrownRice96. And Brad, they can find Tony, our wonderful Tony, at Real Nerdy Dad on Twitter.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony. All right. So without further ado, it's been a lot of fun talking with you guys. And we made it to 25 minutes. Thank God we made it to 25 minutes. And we'll catch you guys on the, for patrons, this is on Thursday. So if patrons, will catch you guys on Friday. But if this is on Saturday morning, we'll catch you guys tomorrow for the Nerdcore live show. But from me, I'm going to say goodbye. Bradley, send them out.
All right, Raul. Thank you for being host as always. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters. We appreciate each and every one of you. This is an exclusive episode just for you. So we hope you enjoy it. Let us know in the comments what you would like us to talk about in future episodes. What?
It's just for them for now. They get it on. Everybody gets it on Saturday.
Oh, that's true. So yeah, for all those future Patreon supporters, you get to see this Saturday, and we truly appreciate your listening and watching. Sorry, I've done two freaking Patreon episodes, so I'm still on that level apparently. Anyways, thank you all for listening, for loving us, for giving us your money, for giving us your faith in that we will tell you what we really think about the movies, even if they are nostalgic and from our childhood. And yes, do not live up to the hype 30 years later. Anyways, thank you all. Keep watching movies. Young Yoda out.